Hello everyone and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments. Second Dinner and Marvel Snap held their Conquerors event called Summer Snap on Friday. It was an amazing event with a ton of top players. We got all the top decks for you from those top players and an interview with the top two. We're going to break down the top 4 decks of the tournament. So let's get started. This is the bracket. You can't probably really see that super well, so I'll just list the rules and who's all in the event for you. So the event format is it's a single elimination bracket with a season pass card format, as in Gilgamesh is required to be in every deck. Participants get 1 deck for each round of the bracket, and decks must be at least 5 cards different from one another. Once a deck is used, it cannot be used again, and players will be randomly seeded for the event. We're going to cover the top 4 decks, which means 6 decks overall, because the top 2 had to play 2 different decks, and we have comments from both of the top 2 players. So if you want exclusive Marvel Snap content, this is the place for you. Hit that sub button, ring that bell. Tomorrow, we've got the top decks from last season and the top decks that we expect to be going forward in this coming season. So if you want exclusive Marvel Snap decks that can get you to the top of Infinite, to the top of the meta, then check out this channel. All right, the participants were Elisary. I believe that she is an Italian streamer. King Venom, Alausi, Lambi Series, the one and only Super Tech God, Owie, Spyro, TLSG, Pawnee Pun, Doughy Cat, Hannah's Cat Cafe, Loopy Fist, Yo Woody MJ, NH Koru, Jeff Hoogland, and Googly. So that is who was in this tournament. We're going to be talking today about Hoogland, about TLSG, Owie, and about Spyro. Cool. Those are our top 4. Those are the 4 we're going to focus on. If you're curious what happened to Lambi, well, we'll talk about that later in the video. Lambi lost an absolutely epic game. All right, Jeff Hoogland hit top 4, and the deck he played in the top 4, the deck he saved for top 4, was this really, honestly, very cool Zoo deck that had a bunch of junk in it. It's extremely powerful. I was very, very impressed with this deck. I think Hoogland could have easily won his matchup. The armor is really, really nice tech here. But what I think is really cool here are both the Debris and the White Widow, which are absolutely excellent junk additions to this Zoo deck, because they give you just enough disruption if you can play them at the right time that your opponent kind of has to always be playing around them, and that makes this really difficult. This is also like the purest Gilgamesh deck. Gilgamesh is in a lot of these decks, right? But this is the purest. This deck works specifically because of Gilgamesh deck that we're going to talk about. All right, you can find Hoogland at twitch.tv/Jeff Hoogland. He's also got a YouTube channel. You probably know Hoogland, right? He's humongous. Hoogland, just a quick spoiler, lost to Spyro in the top 4, so we'll talk about Spyro's deck next. So Gilgamesh is good, but Iron Man or Red Hulk will totally do for this deck. Even I've run Goliath in this spot in similar decks in the past. Nebula can be Iceman without losing too very much. And White Widow and Nocturne can be Green Goblin and Jeff. All good. Green Goblin is worse than White Widow, but not like a bajillion times worse than Jeff is. I'm not sure worse than anything in this game. So turn 1, Nebula over Ant-Man. I usually wait to hold Squirrel Girl at least a little bit, unless I'm trying to rush out a Mockingbird to beat a Mobius. So turn 2, Dazzler, usually Widow, depending on locations, and Armor is fine if you have nothing else. Turn 3, Debris is usually my goal over Nocturne. I really, really, really like Debris here. Debris is very powerful and not only adds to the junk, but also gives you the cheaper Mockingbird that you're looking for. Debris is also the reason I try and hold Squirrel Girl for a little bit, because if you do both of those and your opponent's doing any kind of junk, you're going to get clogged up. Turn 4 is Khazar, or you can try one of the earlier plays. 5 is Blue Marvel, or Khazar in a 1. I actually prefer Khazar in a 1 if I'm going heavy 1-drops this game. And then turn 6 is Mockingbird or Gilgamesh Plus. If you got both Debris and Squirrel Girl out at some point, your Mockingbird is 1, and you can go Mockingbird and Gilgamesh, which is just silly sauce in terms of power to end the game. Very cool deck. Props to Hoog for a really great showing. Yeah, Gilgamesh is actually really good here. We're going to talk a lot. We're going to get the top players' perspectives on Gilgamesh as well as we go forward. All right, we're gonna do our giveaway winners now. We gave away, it looks like 6 season passes. We gave away 5 the week before. So our next 6 winners are Karma with a bunch of numbers, Ryan Sindeldecker, Shiba Churro, Simon Chennett, M2TK, and AFH Gaming. Please, if you would like to claim your prize, either email me at snapjudgespodcast@gmail.com, message me on Twitter at snapjudgecast, or on Discord as Pulse Glazer. Now, this is important. If you are if you are still missing a season pass and don't want to miss out, I'm going to be giving away 1 a week for the rest of the season. So there's like 3 weeks left in the season. You got a chance for at least 3 more season passes. So make sure, 4 more season passes because there's the Arisham week. So 4 more season passes for a total of 15. If you're interested, please hit that sub button, ring that notification bell so you don't miss out. I'm not going to tell you which video it is each week because I haven't decided yet. All right, next up we have Spyro's Top 4 Thanos. This list is cool. This is basically like it's a Professor X cannonball list, which we know works in Thanos because like the original Professor X home was Thanos, right? Thanos with the Lithe used to do this. It's got Mockingbird in it because that's just a lot of power, and it's got the stone, so you can do the little zoo thing with Blue Marvel and Gilgamesh, or Khazar and Gilgamesh, as the case may be. You have a lot of different options here. I really, really like this deck. I bet you, even though Spyro won, he wished he saved it for the finals, but I really, really like this deck an awful lot. I think it offers a lot of power. Psylocke on 3 to cheat out Professor X or Blue Marvel is very strong and lets you set up the Gilgamesh on 5 so you're not like married to that idea. You can get Thanos out early. Very cool deck. You can find Spyro at twitch.tv/Spyro_ZA. And yes, we will have Spyro's thoughts momentarily. Thanos, Mockingbird, Cannonball, and Hope are required for this list, so if you have those 4, you can play it. Jeff was Nightcrawler in the tourney, because like he needed to change an extra card from previous lists, so it was Nightcrawler in the tourney, but like it should be Jeff because Professor X is in the list. Nebula can also just be Nightcrawler. And if you're running like Nightcrawler for Jeff and then you still need Nebula replacement, go with Ant-Man. Cull can be Shang-Chi or Crossbones, and Gilgamesh should be Vision or Devil Dinosaur. Well, I'm not sure this deck actually wants Gilgamesh. I think it's probably better with Vision or Devil Dino in that spot. In particular, I kind of like Vision a lot for this list, but I could be wrong. Gilgamesh is nice here. Gilgamesh ends up in a lot of decks that don't super need him in this tournament. So Spyro's thoughts will be after this next little bit. We're going to talk about what Spyro thought of the tournament. Turn 1, Nebula or Drawstone. It's hand dependent. If your hand is full, if you know you have Mind Stone coming, you can drop Nebula and start to like put some pressure on the opponent. If not, Drawstone. Turn 2, Mind Stone is like your priority over everything. You're happy to play something else. Turn 3, you'll play Psylocke if you don't have much to do and you have Cull in hand. You're perfectly fine to play Psylocke on 2 if you play it a 1-on-1. Turn 3 is Psylocke or Hope. Khazar or Cull on turn 4, or Psylocke is, or Professor X is perfectly fine. Unfortunately, oopsie. Let's go forward and look at it that way. Unfortunately, you don't want to play the other 5. I guess you can play Blue Marvel on turn 4 just fine, but you don't want to play many of the others early. So it's Professor X or Blue Marvel. You don't want to play Gilgamesh or Cannonball early. You're happy to play Mockingbird whenever. And sometimes Thanos costs 5 because you played Time Stone. You're perfectly fine to do that. Turn 5 is Blue Marvel, Chuck, or Thanos. And then turn 6 is Cannonball, Thanos, or Gilgamesh. And you play Mockingbird as she fits in on either turns 3 or 4 or turn 6 usually. Very cool list. Props to Spyro for coming up with this, honestly, like this mishmash that works way better than anyone would have expected. Really cool idea. Again, Gilgamesh has synergy with all of 1 card here, right? I guess 2. Blue Marvel and Khazar. But without Gilgamesh, you could cut Khazar for a better card, one like, say, Shang-Chi, and then you could just run Vision, which I think is probably a better deck. But hey, for the restrictions of the tournament, this one's really cool. All right, Spyro's thoughts. I asked Spyro, I was like, Spyro, give me a quote. Tell me what you think of the tournament and what you think of Gilgamesh himself. I love his Gilgamesh take, but let's start with his thoughts on the tournament. So the event was well run and a lot of fun. The Gilgamesh restriction was an interesting twist. However, in reality, it was too easy to be ignored in favor of tested good decks. The restriction would be better with Arisham. Really great point. Arisham would make this a wild tournament and much more interesting. Gilgamesh is a lot of players just played really good decks that didn't run just threw Gilgamesh in them, which is a little disappointing. All right. Next up, I love this take. Gilgamesh is a good card for early players since it supports Zoo. Makes perfect sense to me. If you're a Series 1 player and you buy the Season Pass and you now have Gilgamesh, you're going to dominate. If you're a Series 2 player, you have Gilgamesh, Zoo is still great. It really gives that, like, the best archetype, or one of the best archetypes early in the game, a huge buff. For experienced players, it's a good card that supports bad decks, so it's a little underwhelming. That's it. That's exactly the take, right? It's a good card to support bad decks. Perfect. I'm still curious what happens if Cannibal and Professor X start to leave the meta, if this can be a thing, but that's a thought for tomorrow's video. All right, our next top 4 deck is TLSG's top 4 Patriot. This is an old school, almost a Patriot deck, right? Like, this is fairly similar to those versions. Actually, I guess the immediately after Patriot versions that took over the meta when Silky Smooth was around, that were running Forge, Brood, Absorberman. This is basically that deck, except with Gilgamesh in the Iron Man spot. Or Doom spot, as the case may be for this one. It even kept America Chavez, which is wild, because America was in this deck when she was a 6/9. Really cool deck, really powerful. The Super Scroll here is brilliant, because in a tournament where you have to run Gilgamesh, you assume people are running a lot of, like, Azar and Blue Marvel and stuff. And why not steal that? And a lot of people are running Professor X, and having Super Scroll on the board makes that really complicated. Very cool deck. Huge props to TLSG, who is a wonderful player. You can find TLSG at youtube.com/@TLSG Again, you probably follow TLSG as like 40,000 subscribers, and is an incredibly kind person. Gilgamesh here can be Iron Man, but Iron Lad is needed. This specific form of the archetype has always wanted Lad more than any other, because, I mean, Lad hitting Sinister or Brood, or Absorbman after Brood is huge. Like, the only, like, bad hits are the really, really cheap stuff for Lad. Everything else is really, really strong. All right, so TLSG and I are scheduling him for Snap Judgments, so hopefully we'll get that all settled and organized soon. So if you like TLSG, again, make sure you stick around, because we will have him on the pod for an hour to 2 hours of Marvel Snapchat. So turn 1, you'd like to drop America. That's usually the only turn you drop it, unless you have an extra energy on turn 4. Turn 2 is Forge. If you don't have Forge, you're happy to drop America. Sometimes you'll Sinister, but usually you hold it, because Sinister on 2 can lead to Absorbman on 3, and you don't really want to Sinister and then be like, I now have to pass 3 to get to Absorbman. Turn 3 is Brood over Sinister, and that could also be your Patriot spot if you don't have either of the others. Absorbman on Brood or Sinister, and you're perfectly fine again dropping Lad here. Turn 5, Blue Marvel is the play. You can also feel free to make this your Patriot and Sinister turn if you had it. And then turn 6 is a combo of Surfer, Patriot, Mystique, or you can just drop Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is not often the play, but hey, not often does not mean never. And he's like a 5/12 here. We're going to be seeing a lot more Patriot going forward in this video. Patriot is like the most obvious Gilgamesh home outside of Zoo, and ends up being really powerful. Props to TLSG for bringing back this classic with Gilgamesh and the great showing in the tournament. All right, our other top 4 deck is Owie Hela, which is just freaking hilarious. Genuinely hilarious. Gilgamesh has no business in this deck. There is not a single card that gets bonus strength, although there are locations and such that can help, right? But Gilgamesh is just a vanilla 5/7 that Hela will bring back sometimes. Or you'll have to drop on 5 sometimes. There's worse things, right? All right, so you can find Owie at youtube.com/@OwieMarvelSnap. Fair warning, the content will be in French. Gilgamesh is just sort of jammed in here. Make it Blink or Dracula. You need Corvus for this list. Reminder that Corvus is in Spotlights later this month. And Black Knight can be Dracula or even an extra 6. I like BK in this deck, but he's not a requirement. All right, so Owie is both French and nice, worth knowing, which is not a serious thing. It's a joke from the comments of a video from earlier this week. So Black Knight and Blade when right on turn 1 or 2. Sif, if you cannot hit Hela or Corvus, is totally fine. I mean, you also Corvus if you're sure you're not going to hit Hela over Sif usually, but you get the idea. Turn 3, Juby or a 3. Turn 5, if you Corvus, you'd like to play a 6 or Jubilee. If not, you're going to play Gilgamesh just for stats if you have nothing else to do. And then turn 6, you're playing a 6 or dropping Hela. This is the list. This is one of the best lists of Marvel Snap, right? Like, this is always one of the highest win rate, highest Q rate lists in High Infinite. It's worth remembering just how good and powerful and impressive this deck is, because it rocked the crap out of that Patriot list. All right, hey, if you're interested, please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/snapjudgments. We have 3 tiers. We also have the free tier. You can get the free tier. Occasionally throw some free content up, and you can keep an eye on what we're doing to see if you ever want to participate. The $1 tier gives tournament access. We run at least 2 different types of tournaments. We have the giant Snap Judgments League with tons of top players, and we run little King of the Hill single elimination tournaments just like this one. We're looking to theme those up a little bit going forward too, so if you're interested, please check them out. Our $5 tier is early access to videos and decks along with exclusive questions. And then our $10 tier is like the big one. You get so much stuff. You get a shout out every video, which you'll see at the end of this one. At least 1 weekly exclusive video, often 2, and a monthly exclusive podcast. I had Lambie come do an exclusive video for the $10 tier of the Patreon, stuff like that. So if you're interested, check out patreon.com/snapjudgments. I'm trying to get 1 new $5 or $10 Patreon a week. That's one of my goals going forward. So I'm going to try and remember to announce this once a week. Sorry. All right, Spyro Patriot Finals. This is the Patriot list that Spyro played in the finals. It is my personal opinion that this is probably the single best Gilgamesh list in the game. It really, really wants Pixie, but it doesn't super need Mobius. It doesn't need Mobius nearly as bad as you want. What you're hoping to do is you're hoping to get 1 cheap big thing and one cheap big thing and 1 regular-ish cost big thing, right? Like if you can get Gilgamesh to be a 1 cost thing and then Onslaught or Patriot to be, Onslaught to be a 5, then you're in heaven, right? Like you don't need a ton to go right to hit with this. It's very, very strong. Very, very cool. This is, again, one of the meta versions of the deck. Pixie and Mobius are just a great combo that probably belong in more lists. We're underplaying them. They're underexplored in the current Marvel Snap meta. So you can find Spyro not only on Twitch, but on YouTube at youtube.com/@Spyroza. So you can turn Absorbing Man to replace Iron Lad here because, well, it's perfectly fine. Oh, wait. No, you can't. I'm completely wrong. I had a different list in my head when I made that suggestion. You can try Jubilee. That is what you can try. Pixie can be Invisible Woman or Supergiant. Gilgamesh can be Iron Man. And Misty is kind of weird here. It can be Forge, Mr. Sinister, Ant-Man, something like that. Just fine. Because Misty, even with Patriot, is less power than an Ant-Man in a full lane. So you probably just want to make it Ant-Man. Alright. Just so you know, if you're a Spyro fan, Spyro, it's scheduled for the 2nd week of July, is scheduled and should be on the podcast. Heroes all the way across the world. So we're trying to figure out a time and a date that work. And July is my summer. I'm a teacher, so we're going to get Spyro on in July if you're interested in hearing Spyro's thoughts. So turn 1, Misty or Squirrel Girl. Turn 2, Pixie is better than Dazzler. Turn 3, Mobius if Pixie, Patriot if not. Turn 4, Lad or Patriot. Turn 5, Blue Marvel, 3+2. This is a decent place for like a Patriot and Dazzler. Or Gilgamesh. Excuse me. And then turn 6, Ultron or Onslaught. Usually Ultron is the right play, but once in a while, Onslaught will work better. All good? His list is very cool, very powerful, and very worth trying out, even in not this specific tournament, although please change Misty. Alright, the winner of Conquerors was Owie. Owie won, and after this will be like 3 pages of interview with Owie stuff. Owie actually, bless Owie, I love Owie, reached out to me and was like, hey, you want to talk about Conquerors in a video? And I was like, yes, sir, I do. Because Owie's content will reach the French-speaking world, and I can reach the English-speaking world with it. So this video is Owie's idea, so huge props to Owie, not only for winning, but for being so damn kind. All right, so Owie's Conquerors winner is fairly similar to that previous deck, except it's running the Invisible Woman tech. And the Invisible Woman tech is great because it lets you not only protect your Patriot from BS, from Enchantress, from your Red Guardians of the world, but it lets you throw your Gilgamesh behind it, which means you can go Patriot, Ultron, Patriot, Invisible Woman, Patriot behind Invisible Woman, who cares on turn 4, throw out a Lad or whatever. Turn 5, throw Gilgamesh behind Invisible Woman, turn 6, Ultron somewhere else, and then you probably win. Which seems like it's probably pretty damn good in terms of winning Marvel Snap games, right? Beautiful list. Ended up winning Conquerors, although it is an unfair matchup in the final, in that Owie ran Super Skrull, and his opponent did not. So anything good that his opponent got from from Patriot, from Ultron, so on, was just going to get super scrolled. So you can find Owie not only on YouTube, but on Twitch at twitch.tv/Owie, and there are 5 eyes in there. I counted to make sure that you could check them out. Gilgamesh here can be Iron Man. Lad can be Absorbing Man or Jubilee. Here's where Iron Lad can be Absorbing Man, excuse me, because of the Brood. It's still better as Iron Lad, but Absorbing Man is fine. Jubilee is less good, but still okay. Remember, we have an exclusive interview with Owie coming up right after this. So turn 1 you pass, turn 2 Invisible Woman is better than Sinister, turn 3 is Brood or Patriot, turn 4 is Lad or Patriot, turn 5 is Gilgamesh behind Invisible Woman or Blue Marvel, and turn 6 is usually Ultron, but sometimes it's 2 3s. For example, if you played Blue Marvel, you can Mystique and Patriot, or Mystique and Brood, or whatever else. Good, or you can just Patriot Mystique, as the case may be. All good. This list is really, really good. I think it wants Absorbing Man, but what the hell do I know? I didn't win the tournament. Owie did. Props to Owie, the great player, who, by the way, knocked out Lambie. I asked him first what Owie thought about the structure of the tournament. The structure was fun and binding at the same time. I understand they want to promote the new card in the season, but it was easy to build around the rules. Again, you can just throw Gilgamesh into decks without any problem. That's a lot of what Owie did throughout the tournament. A short bracket, a single elimination is best. Not being able to repeat the winning deck requires good versatility in deck building and offers something varied to the audience in each match. Great. I think the varied deck building benefited those who were willing to sort of chuck Gilgamesh a little bit to the wayside. As you can tell by like how many people at the top were just like, Patriot deck or crap you could just jam it into. I asked Owie his best played / hardest match, and he ran against Lambie in the in his second match, and with only 3 cubes left, an Icebox hit his Mysterio that ruined his entire game plan. He was playing a Mysterio Sasquatch deck, and it ruined his game plan, which means, and he had to retreat down to 1 cube. So he had to beat Lambie twice in a row. It was a great match. He managed to absolutely steal a game where the peak ruined his entire hand, but luckily he got a Professor X off, and then Cannonball was able to win it. Yeah, it ended up 1 cube versus 1 cube, and Owie topped Lambie. I happened to check in with Lambie as well. Not that this is Lambie's section, but I checked in with Lambie, and Lambie says in true Lambie fashion, Owie is a great player. Do I think he's better than me? No, I don't. But a great player running hot can beat a great player who's not. Which amused the shit out of me, but what are you going to do? All right, I asked Owie specifically about his top 4 match. That is the one we just talked about with TLSG. I just put Gilgamesh and Hela discard with laughter. The Gilgamesh haters in chat were unpleasant because of that, but it fulfilled the tournament conditions. Hela was very fun to play. I think Owie might be going on a Hela kick, so we should all be worried. Owie finished at number 7 on the Infinite Leaderboard last season, for anyone curious. When asked about the final was very fast. I got a quick 7 cubes. He couldn't beat my Super Scroll. Again, makes perfect sense to me. That sounds completely right. The Gilgamesh take, because I think it's important that we try and get a feel for the season pass from people who were forced to play it. The card is not too strong, but it's higher power and can surprise opponents in a suitable deck. Try my zoo. You'll have fun. Just in case you're curious about that zoo, we covered that zoo in Wednesday's video. If you're interested in checking it out, Wednesday's video has the Owie zoo list. Last Wednesday, obviously. And I like the character in the Eternals film. So cool. Great character. That's fun, but not very good. Sounds right. Fun facts. My Twitch voted on decks before each round, so good games to chat. I love that. Before each round, he had a list of decks that he was allowed to play still, and Twitch chat just voted on which one to play in each round. And it worked, and he won. Owie also says he won a unique legendary title and will share it as soon as he has it. So I'm very excited for that. I wonder if they're going to make that be in French. I hope they do. Because that would be appropriate for Owie. All right. I asked Owie what his favorite list of the whole tournament was, because he had to run all these different lists. My favorite list is the Hela Gilgamesh, which is absurd. Because it's just my favorite list is the one that should not even look at Gilgamesh. It made me very happy to bring this deck back for this fun event because a lot of players like the deck. It's one of the most played in the game, and viewers like to watch games with a spectacular ending. It was basically a funny idea from the community, and I followed it with pleasure. Hela wasn't spectacular in my match, but Magneto caused some nice carnage in the last part. It was fun. Troll. Love it. All right. And the final thing I would like to say is thank you to the organizers and all those who enjoyed the event. Long live Jeff, the baby land shark. Thank you so much for the time, Owie. Super appreciate you. Thanks to Second Dinner for a great tournament, and thank you for watching. Before we head out, please check out our Patreon, and we're going to shout out our Patreon supporters. Then we'll see you tomorrow for top 5 decks of last season, top 5 decks of expected for the next season. We nailed last season, just for the record. Abigail Gislin, Mandatory Burnout, Cables, Irregardless, David G. Wingfield, Direwolf, LAB, FaThorNewman, Good Dog Gamer, This Is the Way, Inc., Jane Everett, JD McDaldino, Caretix Lee, Koire, Pyrofros, The Goat Seeker, who I run into on ladder all the time now. Denman Falcon, by the way, this was totally in the middle of this, but I'm just gonna say it. Alex Coach just messaged me and was like, you keep playing me on ladder, right? And I was like, I had no idea that was your name. I completely forgot. So apparently now I just play Alex a ton. Cool. I like that guy. All right. Fat Nick, Doku, Ginger Prime, Philip Rakovich, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, Rob Silverman, The Notorious Bizza, Exorus V and Skippy G, Snap Judgments League 1 champion, Tommy Nyquist, The King of Bros, bruh, The Black Dahlia, The Great Kazoo, Jessica Gamble, Ryan Wood, hey Rye, Kev Siohoda, who isn't updating me, I gotta yell at him to update me, Luna Chris, Louis Antones, Mod Supreme Models, the one and only Darth Tater, Remes Atala, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, The Fuzzy Dunlop, Spectrumix, Hoot, Matt H., DJ Mikey Hijinks, No Frickin' Flex, Ocularis, Mr. Craig Sterry, Pretty Damn Chill, Seamus, who fell behind again, Spike Jones, hey Jonesy, Two Ties, wonderful player, deck got made infinite last season, The Pirate King, Tuccrr, Twitch Partner Supreme, The Homie Min, we love you Min, and of course Gunny T, where the T stands for. Hopefully your name is on this list soon. Thanks so much for watching. Hit that sub button. See you tomorrow, every day, 8 a.m. Eastern, new Snap Take. Peace.